You were the good kid, the one who followed the rules, the one who didn't cause trouble, the one adults trusted, praised, relied on. You learned early how to behave, how to read the room, how to sense tension rising, and disappear before it became your fault. You didn't rebel, you adapted, and people admired you for it. They called you mature, responsible, easy, strong. But inside, something else was forming. A constant tightness in your chest, a feeling of being watched, even when no one was there. A sense that one wrong move could cost you safety, approval, or love. Here is the paradox that defines your psychology. The behavior that kept you safe as a child is now the source of your anxiety as an adult. Being good protected you in environments where emotions were unpredictable, where anger filled the house, where love felt conditional, where mistakes carried consequences too heavy for a child. So you learn control, your tone, your needs, your reactions, externally composed, internally tense. And now, as an adult, you struggle to rest. You overthink simple choices. You fear disappointing others more than losing yourself. This is not weakness. This is a nervous system that never learns safety without performance. To understand why good kids become anxious adults, we need to change the frame. This is not a personality flaw. This is developmental conditioning. At the center is hyper-responsibility, the belief that it is your job to maintain emotional stability around you. This often forms in homes where emotions were intense or suppressed conflict felt dangerous, love depended on behavior. One key concept is parentification. You may not have raised siblings or paid bills, but you managed moods. You monitored tension. You became the emotional caretaker. Another mechanism is hypervigilance. Your nervous system learned to scan constantly for emotional threat, a change in tone, a sigh, a slammed door, silence. Neurologically, the amygdala remains activated. Mistakes, needs, and visibility become associated with danger. Your mind doesn't just exist, it supervises itself. This often pairs with anxious attachment, where closeness must be earned through effort, not ease. Being good was never about morality, it was about survival. There is a quiet grief carried by former good kids. Not grief for something taken, but grief for something never allowed to emerge. Your anger, your defiance, your messiness, your need. They were hidden so the world wouldn't collapse. You learned that authenticity was risky, that rest had to be earned, that peace was fragile. So now, calm feels suspicious, stillness feels unsafe, joy feels temporary. Carl Jung called this the shadow of the unlived life, the parts sacrificed to remain acceptable. And the cost of that sacrifice is anxiety. Not fear of failure, but fear of disruption. You fear that if you stop being good, something bad will happen. That disappointing someone will cause collapse. That relaxing means punishment. For you, anxiety is not the fear of danger. It is the fear of finally being free, without knowing how. These patterns don't disappear. They evolve. You might recognize yourself here. You overthink decisions, because mistakes once felt unsafe. You struggle with boundaries, because saying no once had consequences. You are competent but tense. Success brings pressure, not relief. You avoid conflict, because conflict once threatened love. You feel guilty resting. Productivity became permission to exist. You minimize your pain, telling yourself others had it worse. These are not personality traits. They are coping strategies. And the turning point is not fixing yourself. It is witnessing. This protected me once. And now, I can choose differently. Unlearning doesn't mean becoming reckless. It means becoming safe with yourself. Healing the good child wound is subtle. It doesn't look like rebellion. It looks like permission. Permission to disappoint. Permission to rest. Permission to be imperfect. It begins with inner child reparenting, offering yourself safety without compliance. You practice saying no and surviving it. You let tension exist without fixing it. You allow mistakes without collapsing into shame. You engage in shadow work, welcoming back the parts once labeled difficult or too much. And slowly, anxiety loosens its grip. Not because life becomes predictable, but because you stop needing to control yourself to feel safe. Donald Winnicott called this the true self, the self that emerges when safety allows authenticity. You weren't allowed that safety, but you can create it now. You were never broken. You were over-adapted. Your goodness was never the problem. The problem was being taught that goodness was the price of love. It wasn't. and it never will be. If this resonated, share it with someone who grew up being the good one. Subscribe, not to be fixed, but to be understood. Because the goal is not to stop being good. It is to finally feel safe being human.